Peace and happiness to all the living organisms. Oh man, what's happening, everybody? I have a very, very special guest coming to the show today. I'm very honored and pleased. I sent the link, and guest of honor should be joining us soon. Everyone. Hope everybody is having a wonderful day, wonderful Saturday. It's a very nice, pleasant day here in Cleveland, Ohio. All of the links to the Queen Rashida Strober's support links are in the description. Not all, but some of her support links are in the description. And I say not all because this woman has so many projects. You know, she's doing fabulous things out here. Woman of many talents. Oh, let's see what's going on. She should be joining soon. I sent the link via email. Refresh your email. We're not going to be here long. This should be a short interview. Look out for what is coming June. Let me get this right. Okay. June the 26th, Friday, June 26th at 7:30 p.m. A dark-skinned woman's revenge. Starring Rashida Strober. Should be very, very interesting. I know I'm going to support that project. I'm going to try my best to take my trip to Atlanta and see this live, y'all. And if I can't, I'm going to have to enjoy it from the comfort of my own home on a live stream. But I will support this particular project. I have to see what's going on with this baseball season. I don't know if they'll be done started up baseball by then, and then if they do, the schedule is going to be so, ain't no telling what days I'm gonna have to work. So you can't even look at the original schedule that we was given before the season started to say, yeah, I'm gonna have that off day, because I was doing that, and I'm like, well, shit, if they start the season back up, that don't mean I'm gonna still have this same day off, because I'm pretty sure they're gonna have to make up those games. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens. So let's see what's going on. The link is sent. Let me send a text message to see. Please, everyone, leave a like. You know, a lot of people like to come and go. Just leave a like, okay? Hit the like button when you come in, and if you don't, make sure you hit it on your way out. Leave a like, please. I'm hoping to make some changes to my channel as well with the introduction videos and stuff. I'm trying to get certain things to happen, but I don't know if they're gonna happen or not. I'm just not getting the responses that I'm looking forward to, for some reason. But hopefully I can make those adjustments soon too. You know? Yeah. So hold on, y'all. We're gonna hold on. Give us some time. Maybe it's some technical difficulties with the email. Rashida will be here soon. I know the people are anxious. Mm-hmm. I've been watching Rashida for, I don't know, probably about 2 years, maybe. It's about how long I've been familiar with her. Hey, what's up, y'all in the Cadillac? Peace and happiness. What's going on? How y'all doing? Hmm. Let's see if I can get a little intro video of hers or something till she get here. You know, the queen's got to make a special interest, y'all. So you know how that go. I know how the women can be sometimes. Have to be extra special. You know. I think. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry my voice is hoarse. Y'all know I ran a lot, so my voice is very hoarse.
It's all good. It's a pleasure to have you, and you can go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Oh, of course. Thank you. I'm the world's first and only dark skin activist. I am the reason, so you shouldn't have said that. You really want me to introduce myself?
Yes, that's why I said introduce yourself, baby. Go right ahead.
Listen, if it wasn't for Rashida Strober, and I'm not saying this to be arrogant, I'm not saying it because I'm a narcissist, because I've been accused of everything in the book, but people refuse to sit down and understand the facts and the truth of how this whole colorism, dark skin discrimination, darkism came to the online masses and even onto TV. And it is an act of darkism to not give credit to the person that took the hits. I took the death threats. I took the beat downs from people on social media. And even in the community, before there was a social media that even existed, I've been the dark skin activist. I created the first lane in history, the first platform in history to ever advocate against colorism and what I call darkism, which all means dark skin discrimination. There is not a human being that a person can legitimately name before me that created a platform. We're not talking about having a discussion at your mama house or with your cousin or with your sister or with your co-workers. We're talking about I created a platform, a brand, the first of its kind to eradicate this thing called darkism and colorism. And I brought it online after years of developing it, which it started in 1998 when I was an undergraduate student at St. Petersburg College during Harambe, African American History Month, where I gave a speech / lecture, whatever you want to call it, and it's documented. Anybody can go do their research and they're going to find out this is the truth. And I spoke on dark skin discrimination, colorism, talking about people like Alec Weck, which is the Senegalese model, talking about people like Lauryn Hill and her impact at the time, and talking about what I had been through. And that gave birth to dark skin activism. And from that point on, I continue to develop this science and to develop this brand, mainly in the form of my plays. I am an actor, I'm an author, I'm a writer, a social commentator. I also developed it in the form of my books and what I call darkism talks. And none of this stuff, don't tell me about no Lupita, no Rashida, no Lupita. I don't want to hear that unless you're putting respect on my name. None of this stuff was ever done before me. None of it. This is the first of its kind. And I built this brand and continue to be an activist in the community, helping all Black people. Let's be clear. But I focused on dark-skinned people more because dark-skinned people have been the ones that have been the most discriminated against in the Black community. And so in 2006, I created what's called the Dark Skin Activist Tour. This is way before anybody talked about dark skin, colorism, or any of that. Only other person I will ever give credit to is a woman named Cola Booth. That is all. That is it. She's all that matters. 2006, I created the Dark Skin Activist Tour, which consists of darkism talks and performances of my plays. And then I continued to write. And before YouTube, the white media, they were in contact with me, and I have been, for example, written about in major white newspapers, as well as I have been on television interviewed about the dark skin activist narrative, the dark skin girl narrative. None of the stuff these people are doing is new. You copying my blueprint, and I got a big problem with that, because that's darkism to me, because I laid the foundation and I built this lane. So I brings my brand online because of social media starting to gain ground. I just took the platform that I started on a grassroots level and brought it to a new medium, which was social media. And it took some time. But in 2014, as a result of my work that I've been putting in before there was social media, Tommy Sotomayor contacted me. And he said, I want you to come and discuss your dark skin agenda. And that was the origin story of the popularity, where it started to gain some traction with Black social media, with Black internet. Before that, I had already been in the white press. Let's be clear. Go do your research. Shout out to Biracial Butterfly, who me and her disagree, but she actually admitted she went and found the receipts. She did her research and found everything I'm saying is absolutely the truth. So 2014, it starts to gain traction. Tommy Sotomayor contacts me, asked me to come on, and me and him, we were at odds for a while, because he didn't agree with what I had to say about how to stop darkism and colorism. Then 2015 rolls along, and dark skin activism, which I put years into building, blew up because of a viral post that I made about a rapper named Kendrick Lamar. And people need to understand that I was doing colorism counseling, darkism counseling, the first of its kind. And that's how that post came about. Because the person, and I will never disclose her name, because I got a lot of respect for the people that come to me and tell me things in, privacy. So I'm not going to violate their privacy by exposing names, but the facts are all there in my inbox. She said, Rashida, what do you think about Kendrick Lamar and this woman that he's married to? Because this young lady, I have been counseling her for about a year, because her boyfriend left her for a light-skinned woman, and he was still using her, coming back to get money from her to support him and the light-skinned woman, putting it back into their household. So me and her had this rapport. And she came and said, Rashida, what do you think about Kendrick Lamar and his light-skinned fiance? And I just did what I normally do. I've been raw. I've been the dark-skinned activist. And when I say I've been raw, I tell you straight up what I think. I'm not going to lie to you. And I said what I had to say about Kendrick Lamar, having no idea that it would go viral to millions and end up with Charlamagne and the Breakfast Club making me donkey of the day. And then a funny thing happened after that. People that post went viral. So that made people come to my dark skin channel, my dark skin website. Nobody had done this before me. They all flocked to me. And they was like, what the hell is a dark skin activist? I get that to this day. What the hell is a dark skin? Nobody understood what I was doing. They was mocking me. They was saying I was crazy. People was making videos. Like I said, Charlamagne and the Breakfast Club made me donkey of the day. People like DJ Academics, all these people, I didn't even know who these people was. I was doing the work of dark skin activism that I've been started in 1998. After, I also got death threats as well. And I still got the screenshots and evidence from 2015. But a funny thing happened. The same people, these people that were mocking me and saying, what's a dark skin activist? They started ripping off and plagiarizing my channel. And so you got Black women on YouTube and some of the Black men, but I will say that some of the Black men, they've been more honest about who started this thing. I will give credit to where it's due, because I'm an honest person. And if you do something, I'm going to call you out. And if you do something right, I'm going to call you out. So what happened was the Black females, there's some Black females on YouTube. They had channels. They never talked about colorism. They didn't care about colorism. They didn't care about dark skin discrimination. They didn't care about their dark skin situation. But when they seen the dark skin activists, and I had popped and all my hard work, they switched up their channels and began ripping off my platform. And this is why with these people to this day because they're thieves and liars, and I got a big damn problem with it. So I'm just giving y'all a brief breakdown of this history because I put this work in, and you're not gonna come and disrespect me after saying you're crazy for talking about colorism and then turn around and make a whole channel. Or now you see people like Amara La Negra. She came on to the Breakfast Club 3 years after me, after the Breakfast Club made me donkey of the day and scandalized my name. And this woman who never talked about no dark, that's why I don't respect none of these chicks, you frauds. You come on there regurgitating nearly everything. I have been treated fucking horribly by the Black community. The same people. And I have a Black man that listened to me. He heard me on Tommy Sotomayor. And he contacted me. He said, Rashida, what are you doing? He tried to talk me out of this. He said, what are you doing? These people, these same people you fighting for, they don't like you. They're not supporting. And that Black man was right. Shout out to that Black man. He know who he is. He was right. And I didn't listen to him. I said, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep doing what I do. I said, you're wrong, but he was actually right. And I'm going to keep fighting now because I got my play coming up. But I'm letting you know, Black people done me dirty, straight up. Dirty on YouTube. And that's the most severe form of darkism. We talk about what white people have done. Yeah, we know white people, racism and white supremacy, that phrase coined by Dr. Neely Fuller and Dr. Cress Welsing, who I got a lot of respect for, and I don't plagiarize Black scholars. I'll say your name if you created something. So that's why I'm mentioning them. We know that white people, what they've caused is as a result of their racism and white supremacy. But this darkism, this intra-darkism hits harder. And so this is the story of the dark-skinned activist. This is where we at. Thank you very much.
Wow, that's a powerful introduction. And it sounds like you started a movement and people jumped on, like you said, kind of mocked you for it and then jumped on board and didn't want to give credit.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that's crazy. Did no apologies or nothing? I bet nothing.
It's a robbery. It's a straight robbery, and they're making money off of my brands. I have suffered as a result because when I found out that I was being plagiarized, because some supporters, I didn't even know what was going on. I'm gonna be honest. I don't watch people on YouTube like that. If you a vegan, I'll watch you. I'm a long-time vegan. I like to take care of myself. So if you got some good stuff to say about veganism and health and wellness, I'm gonna watch you. But that's about it. So I didn't know what was going on. People was coming to me and said, Rashida, look at this. And I was ignoring it for a couple of years because I was, trying to get my plays and continue to produce my plays. And they was right. I'm like, what? Wow, how could these people backstab me like this? And I remember when I wrote A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge in 2006, before anybody uttered a word about dark skin, I wrote the play because I wanted to give work to dark-skinned women. That's the reason for it. And I remember dark-skinned women would tell me, don't talk about that. You shouldn't cover that. They would not want to deal with it. And I said, I couldn't believe it. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and wait for funding or for people to approve this. I'm going to play. That's why I play these 5 characters. That's the reason why people say, oh, you want it to be a one-woman show. No, they say necessity is the mother of invention. People didn't believe. And so now with social media, to see these people, you got dark-skinned chicks popping up talking. Y'all know y'all been influenced by my work. Why you going to do that? That's some dirty shit. And the whole thing is this, excuse my language. The whole thing is this. I don't have a problem with people talking about it, but you got to be honest. You got to say, you didn't even think to talk about. People will say, well, dark-skinned people have this experience. Well, you have to ask the question, why didn't they start a movement? If you were so compelled and affected by it and impacted by it, why you ain't start a movement like I did? I was so traumatized by it that I said, I'm finna deal with this. I ain't going to be this destructive. I'm going to deal with it in a constructive manner by writing about it. I'm going to fight it through building a brand artistically. And that's what I did. So I would think that if you felt so compelled, you would start a movement. That ain't what you did. You plagiarized me. Let's keep it 100. But this is the story of the dark-skinned activist. And I never thought I would see it come to this point. I call it phases of dark-skinned activism because that's what it is. I got the phase of really starting in my childhood of constantly being berated for being dark skinned and seeing my light skinned family members treated better and given gifts because they got good hair and light skin. And I'm sitting up here being berated. So I experienced that phase. And then I said, I'm going to do something about it as I began to develop my worldview and understand what this thing is. And then the phase of scholarship, you know, I earned my master's degree from the University of South Florida in political science and wrote my thesis about the dark-skinned people and what I call systemic economic darkism in African countries as initiated by the World Bank and the Monetary Fund. So there was these phases of this. There's this emotional phase where I couldn't really conceptualize it. And then I grow up and then I began to conceptualize it and intellectualize it and not just deal with emotion, deal with logic, and then begin to become an intellectual and create these different paradigms, the paradigm of darkism. And then to see people say, this ain't gonna work. And then get on social media and watch you. I'm angry. This is exploitation of its finest. And the irony of it is you got dark-skinned people exploiting dark-skinned Black people exploiting Black people. You know, the irony is that it's rooted in racism and white supremacy. But now you got dark-skinned people that's exploiting me. I had to take down my videos after I was being plagiarized. And that cost me money. That cost me views. People mock me and they say, you're angry because you don't got views. Well, did you ever stop to think that these plagiarizers are directly impacting my views on YouTube? How they damage my brand? These people have no compassion. Black people doing this. I'm sickened by it. I'm sickened by it. As an artist, I'm angry at the art form, but I love it at the same time. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely, because it's like your work being stolen, of course. Of course. Well, for the audience and for people who may not really know and understand, can you give a brief explanation, or don't have to be brief, of your main motivation behind your movement?
Well, the main motivation, it started with me being treated bad as a dark-skinned little girl growing up. And I saw the differences. I got 5 brothers. And, you know, I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida in poverty. And I experienced darkism in my family. I have a light-skinned cousin who I love her to death, but I'm only here to tell the truth. And they treated the light-skinned people better in my family. And I was not treated well. I was neglected. I was called names. You know, there's just a certain treatment you get. I was ostracized by my own family, which is why I don't really deal with a lot of them to this day, because they know what they did. They know what it is. You know, I got one person in my family that would tell me, you know, I have high cheekbones and my nose is kind of big. But this person, this lighter skinned person, has the good hair and the lighter skin that is acceptable to Black people. So this one person in my family who favored light skin over dark skin, I guess she was trying to give me some type of consolation prize. She would say, my great grandmother is Indian. She would pull out this picture and say, well, you know, she'd brag about the long hair that the other person got and the good hair and the long hair, but you got the high cheekbones. But in the same vein, she was throwing darkism at me, letting me know that basically this particular individual got the good side of it. Because, you know, Black people will say, as a defense mechanism, if they're being cracked on, we called it being cracked on when I was growing up. They'll say, I got Indian in my family. I got Indian in my family. So that's what she was doing. And I knew that there was intrinsically a problem with you telling me, well, you should feel a little bit better because you got an Indian great grandma. No, I'm embracing. My father was in the Nation of Islam, so he was always telling me when I did get a chance to visit him, he said, Black is the original. So I'm veering more towards my father's side because he was actually nicer and kinder, but I didn't live with him and I didn't get a chance to be around him as much. But when I did, he was nice to me and he wasn't what I call the darkest. So that was, he actually redeemed my love of the Black man in my later years as a young woman. That's why I don't dislike Black men, because my dark-skinned dad loved me. I just wasn't around him enough to get. I got more of the negativity in terms of darkism because I was with my mother's side of the family versus my father's side of the family. But I got a taste of my dad. So when I was in school, man, I've been called every name in the book: Blackie, ugly. In this play, A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge, make no mistake about it. When an artist is writing something, plays, books, whatever the case may be, it's remnants of themselves. That's a part of that. Understand that very clearly. So I've been called all kinds of names. And I remember in high school, you know, I was an introvert. I know people may not believe that, but I was this dark-skinned introvert and didn't say much. People would talk about me and say stuff, and I wouldn't say anything. I would just sit back and take it. And it was bad in middle school. When middle school came, that's when things really started to go downhill. I remember I wouldn't even go in the lunchroom because there was this one dark-skinned dude. I'll be here telling y'all stories all day. He was dark-skinned himself, and every time I would come in there, he would say, "That goes Spot." And I wasn't bothering nobody. I was minding my business. But sometimes if you're a dark-skinned person and you have a certain demeanor, you're not combative and you are introverted, people will try to use you as a punching bag. And that's what was going on. And I experienced this through my school years. And at some point, of course, I did decide to fight. My limit was just don't touch me. Don't put your hands on me. That's where the problems begin. Say what you want, but don't touch me. But I experienced these darkism insults, and it became a situation where it was coming from a lot of males. And you know, when you start to come into yourself as a teenager, your attraction to the opposite sex was there. I wanted a boyfriend just like anybody else. I wanted to be accepted, and I couldn't get that acceptance. And so all these different experiences trying to get the acceptance of the black male, having my light-skinned family members chosen over me and giving gifts and being praised above me, and all that stuff, it just led me to this burning question of why the hell am I? Hold on, I ain't doing nothing to nobody. I'm not being abusive to anybody. I'm not mistreating people. Why are you treating me differently? Because I'm dark-skinned and I'm nappy-headed. And that led me to seek out movements. You know, I ended up joining the Uhuru movement thinking that I was going to get some type of refuge and love in the Black movement. And it wasn't there for me. That I experienced darkism in the movement. And so, you know, I finally decided to take things in my own hand. I remember even asking people in the movement, hey, can you address this dark skin thing? People brushed it off. So sometimes that's why I said, for these people to copy me now, you can't reconstruct 20, 30 something years of a person's experience in terms of how a movement got started. That's an insult to that person. That's an insult to me even being born. That's crazy. I would never do that to somebody. So the dark skin activism, by the time I reached college, I was like 20, 21, something like that. Dark skin activism, that was the culmination of all those experiences. And I said, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to start talking. Since nobody else want to talk about it, since there was no dark skinned activist, I was literally looking for a dark skinned activist, what I became. You know, I was looking for it in my family. I was looking for it in the Uhuru movement. Shout out to the Uhuru movement, Chairman O'Malley. I should tell her. I got a lot of love for him. I'm not talking about him, but I'm just saying there was darkism. There's darkism in pro-Black movements. The irony. I couldn't get what I was looking for, so I started dark skin activism as a solution to my own problem. Okay, as a solution to there's a book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. I think his name is Paulo Freire. I think that's his name. But the book is Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And in this book, he talks about how oppressed people deal with their oppression, right? So this is my way of dealing with my dark skin oppression, to start a movement. And the primary focus was initially coming from a female point of view, wanting Black male acceptance. I said, I want these Black men to see me as beautiful. Yes. I want y'all to say, when you see me, I don't want you. I made a video years ago. People copied me all the time. I said, a Black man turn his head when he see me, because that's had been happening to me for my entire life. And I want to talk about it. I want to stop that. Instead of you turning your head, I want you to look me in my eye and talk to me. I want to be the standard of beauty. So that's where it came out of. And then, of course, movements grow. They develop. I'm still developing. The movement is still developing right now as we speak. The plagiarism is a new phase. So it developed into to include Black dark-skinned men and dark-skinned women, all dark-skinned people, because I was an educator. I taught at the St. Petersburg College for about 2 years. American national government, also in the Pinellas County schools. I've went into the schools speaking to the kids for free. I was substitute teacher, all that, mentor, all that. And I saw tremendous acts of darkism, but it ain't happened on my watch. I stopped it and called it out, even at the threat of possibly losing my livelihood. I've always put Black people before myself, but they never did it for me though. That's the irony of it. That's the intra-darkism that I'm talking about. So it began to develop into this movement to help all Black people. And so the overall goal is to completely eradicate darkism on a socioeconomic level. Because understand, if you read my book, my book Darkism, 25 Ways Dark-Skinned People Are Discriminated Against. I told you I'm dealing with it from the emotional part, which is the performing arts, because I can be my emotional self, and then from the intellectual academic part, so I can be my academic self. There's a glossary of terms, dark-skinned glossary of terms, first of its kind. There's this term I came up with called systemic economic darkism. And I will say that I read the work of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, the ISIS papers, and Dr. Neely Fuller. They talk about the areas of people activity. And so applying that theory that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing and Dr. Neely Fuller created, speaking on the areas of people activity where you see racism and white supremacy rear its ugly head. Systemic economic darkism, you see the same thing, where dark-skinned people, their economic livelihood is impacted. Okay, their life chances is impacted. The idea of dark-skinned people and their life chances, and that simply means their chances at having the best life that they can live on an economic level, on a socioeconomic level, where they're going to work, where they're going to live, the type of neighborhood they're going to live in. And this idea, because again, I'm big on not plagiarizing people, because I came from academia. I have a master's degree in political science. You're not going to get a master's degree and defend your thesis or your dissertation if you plagiarizing people. You do something called a literature review, where you study the scholars in the field before you, and you're looking for gaps in the literature, gaps in the field, where you can come in and you can say, okay, let me fill this gap. So that's why I like to give credit to these other scholars. So Max Weber, he's a white man. I don't care about that. Max Weber, he came up with this idea of life chances. And I apply that to dark-skinned people, looking at dark-skinned people's life chances due to darkism, how darkism impacts dark-skinned people's economic life chances, because we're talking about economics. We're talking about, again, what type of house you're going to live in. That your economics impacts that, because your job, your education, all that is impacted by your economics. Can you afford to go to Ivy League colleges? Can you even afford to go to college? And if you go to college, can you graduate from college and get a high-paying job, or maybe start a business? This is all about socioeconomics. So then applying that to Sierra Leone, which is the country that I did my thesis on, and looking at Sierra Leone, for example, the life chances of the dark-skinned people have been heavily impacted by darkism, because white folks came over there and they instituted policies like I said, the structural adjustment policies. That's the name of the policies. That's telling them, hey, you got to do this in order to get this money. But at the same time, you came to Sierra Leone and you extracted their natural resources, their diamonds, and you controlled it, De Beers, for example, and you caused the Civil War. That is systemic economic problems, systemic economic darkism. And so my ultimate goal is to put dark-skinned people on par economically. We have to be equal with non-dark-skinned people. That is the goal, because it's all about the money. That's really what this is about. Because if we talk, even in marriage, Dr. Margaret Hunter, which is one of the chief colorism scholars out there, I respect her. She talks about this idea of social capital, that light-skinned women, they can use their social capital to go get married to men that have money and means. And that's been going on since Reconstruction era. We go back to the Reconstruction era after slavery, where the mulatto, they were the elite in the Black community. So it's all about economics. I want to make us on par. It's about equality. It's a human right. Dark skin activism is it's a humanitarian movement. I hope I explained myself well. I hope y'all understand where I'm coming from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know. Look, I got this family picture real quick, and this is us. I don't know if you're looking at the screen. This is me as a baby.
Can you drop your your YouTube channel link where this is being broadcast?
Yes, absolutely. In the chat room, right?
Yeah, I can see it in our chat where we're at, but I don't know where your channel is, so I'm kind of like all over the place there. But
okay, you want it in the private chat?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much.
But one of my siblings is darker than the other, and I do remember like hearing some of those dark skin, little things, even stuff like she cute to be dark skin. Yeah,
that's a big one.
Yeah, it really is, and that I really don't understand that one. So yeah, I definitely heard that growing up a lot, and I ain't gonna lie, I was part of picking on the dark skins. We was bad in school. I don't know where it come from, but that's just what we did. And I can see it now as how big of a problem it is, and it's good that somebody like you is putting in this type of work. I must say that. And the motivation behind your characters, the multiple characters, was it behind Eddie Murphy or Tyler Perry or anything, or that's just,
Oh no, I didn't even, when I wrote A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge in 2006, and I didn't even know about Tyler Perry. I was living in Los Angeles. I moved to Los Angeles in 2000. What was it? 2003? No, 2005. I was in LA from 2005 to 2008. And when I was in Los Angeles, I'm glad you asked that question because it had nothing to do with Tyler Perry. I love Tyler Perry. No shade to him. I like what he's doing, but I didn't even know who he was. I was in my own head. When I moved to Los Angeles, there was a brother, I'll never forget, the first week I was there, I went to the library up on La Brea because I was kind of checking out the scene there. And there was this light-skinned man named Stephen Meeks. And every aisle I went on, he was on the aisle. And I was like, what's going on here? And so he walks up to me and he starts talking to me and he says, oh, are you a college student? And I said, no, I'm not a college student. I had just graduated. I just got my master's and I had just moved to LA. And he was like, he asked me for my number and, he said, I told him I had just moved there and he's like, oh, I'll show you the town and da, 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 da. And I said, okay. Long story short, me and him, eventually we ended up becoming friends. And I found out that he worked with my favorite artist of all time, Donnie Hathaway. So that kind of endeared me to him even more because I was asking him all kind of questions about Donnie Hathaway. And, but he, I would talk to him about the dark skin thing. That's his thing. We constantly talk about dark skin. And he was light skinned, but he loved blackness. And he did have an affinity for dark skinned women. I will say that. And, he would say to me, you need to get all this out. And he said, what I want to do is I want to come over and I want to record you and we'll transcribe it. And I started writing A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge as a one-woman play from there because I wanted, I wanted to get this out. And so that's where it came from. It didn't come from Tyler Perry. It came from, me and Stephen, we were sitting down again. In fact, Stephen Meeks, he cast me in my first play or show that I ever did in LA. And it was called The World You Stood By and Just Watched, where I played a dark-skinned Rwandan woman. The Civil War that happened in Rwanda. That's what the play was all about. And we did it at the Pan-African Film Festival. And this was, I think it was like either 2005 or 2006. So everything was always focused on dark skin. And then I started writing, A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge was originally called the Joma Legend, Revenge of the Dark-Skinned Girl. And I copywrote it with the Writers Guild of America, which I still have the certificate. Like I said, I got all my receipts and documents to prove all this work I've been doing. That's way back from 2006. So I changed the name over time to A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge, but it was originally called the Joma Legend, Revenge of the Dark-Skinned Girl, because it was A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge actually comes from another play that I wrote called A Dark-Skinned Girl's Triumph, the Rashida Strober Story, which had another name, The Ice Cream Lady's Dream. I kept switching up the names, but the content was the same. And in that play, I talked about how I was a dark-skinned young lady wanting to be in the performing arts. And there was this, it was actually based on myself for real. There was this guy at church, I renamed him Ceedy, and I would come to church, he would say, you black and ugly and you nappy headed. And I wrote this piece in there artistically. I would play these characters. I would play Ceedy and I would play myself as a child, but I switched up the names, and me and him arguing. He calling me black and ugly, nappy headed, and you shouldn't be in the church play because you ugly and your hair nappy, and you need to go get your hair. It was so crazy, and the people just loved it. They was like, they would see it. I performed it at a place called Theater on Pico Boulevard, and I said, I'm gonna write a whole play about these two characters, and that's how A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge came about. It came from my childhood experiences growing up, where people would tell me Ceedy was the culmination of other people saying, you're too black, whether it be in school, whether it be at the church, whether it be in my family. They're saying, you too black to do anything regarding entertainment. You ugly, you dark skinned, you nappy headed, you skinny, you ugly. You can't do this. So I wrote about that. And then I had sister locks in my head. And then I remember agents telling me, you gotta get rid of them sister locks. You gotta, get the straight hair. And I would never do it. So this was like way before anybody was talking about dark skin, literally. That's why it's funny to me when people I'm like, wait a minute, y'all trying to steal my whole life here. Stop that. This actually happened to me. I already wrote these plays. So A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge has zero to do. I wasn't even thinking about Tyler Perry. Didn't even know who he was. I was literally taking from my own life and creating art. My life, it was fodder for my art. That's what it was. This has nothing to do with Tyler Perry. Shout out to Tyler Perry. I got a lot of respect for him, but that's not where it came from. So, yeah.
That definitely says a lot about your creativity. Definitely. Any questions from the chat? I know you can't, you don't have that much time. Is there anything else you want to say? I definitely want you to let them know about your upcoming event, June, I believe, 26th.
Yes, June 26th. Well, first of all, I know I've been talking. I'm a talker.
Oh, you can talk for hours if you want to. I don't mind.
Dude, you might not want to give me that pass.
I'm not in a rush.
I want to say to you, thank you very much. Thank you kindly. I don't know what it is with the black men, but I have received, and I thought it would be the opposite. It's the irony here is so great, and you got a beautiful family. I'm looking at it now. I thought that the black dark-skinned women would embrace me. I really did. I was so naive and stupid looking back. So I want to say thank you to black men, because here's the thing. I was fighting in my head. I wanted dark-skinned women to have husbands. I had this fear that dark-skinned women were not going to get married and live happy lives. I guess that was my fear for myself. And I was projecting it onto all dark-skinned women. So in my head, I'm like, oh, I got to get these black men to marry them and be with them. That's what we got to do. So I thought dark-skinned women was going to join me in that. But they've been giving me the biggest pushback. And then they turn around and copy what I'm doing. Even the light-skinned women. So I'm actually shocked that the black men have actually done a lot of embracing. It shocks the hell out of me even to this day. So with that being said, I want to tell you, thank you, because when you contacted me and you have my head be all over the place because I'm doing all this stuff. And I was looking at you, was very persistent. And he was like, we got to do this. And I'm like, I'm saying to myself, yeah, I want to do it. But you know how when you're doing a lot of things, you kind of all over the place. And that's what it was. So I want to tell you, thank you for being persistent and for having enough respect and caring about what I got to say about this whole dark-skin, darkism, light-skin, darkism thing. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Very welcome. It needs to get out. You have a powerful message, and the passion is matched with how powerful the message is. So it needs to get out there. So anytime, you're more than welcome to come on.
Thank you. And so yeah, the play is going down on June 26th. I'm going to be doing it live stream pay-per-view. So you know, anybody could watch it from home. You can, I don't mind people said, do you mind us doing watch parties? I don't mind at all. Do a watch party. The tickets are $44.99. You could chip in with whoever that comes to your house and watch it. It's all good. If you're in Atlanta, I'm going to be performing it at the White Label, and that's at 349 Decatur Street Southeast. All the ticketing information, you can just go to my website, which is darkskinactivist.com. Once again, that's darkskinactivist.com. And you're going to see all the ticketing information. Plus, I said, I'm not, my mama used to say, don't let the devil steal your joy. She's right. It actually, one of my characters is kind of loosely based on my dark-skinned mama, Sister Glenda Applebaum. My mama is like this. My mama would have street services in front of her house, and people would call the police and get mad and say, why are you beating the drums and making all this noise and having church in a residential neighborhood? And I grew up in a Pentecostal church seeing all of her antics and, you know, shouting and screaming and hollering and doing all of that. So I will say that Pastor Glenda Applebaum, which is one of my characters, is, you know, people don't ask me that know her. They say, that's your mama when they see me perform. Yeah, it is kind of loosely based on my mama, who's a dark-skinned Pentecostal Christian that speak in tongues and fall out and demand that people get saved, and very bossy and very commanding. So that character is loosely based on her. And we would go to church, and people would, you know, behind the scenes, they would, even adults, young adults would pick at her and say, there go that black ass lady with all them kids. And because she had a bunch of kids and all this kind of stuff. And we were poor, and people would talk crazy about us. So I was taken from my own life, writing about stuff. That's why I say Tyler Perry, people get Tyler Perry, okay. But that is actually coming from my own life and the dark-skinned women that I've seen around me. So you can also go to my website and get Darkism. I'm giving away, my mama said, don't let people take your joy. For a period of time, I took down one of my books after I figured out I was being plagiarized. I wrote a book called How to Be the Hottest Dark-Skinned Chick on the Planet, which is the first motivational book written for dark-skinned females. And I released that book, gave it away for free for years on my website. I took it down after being very disenchanted with people stealing from me. I took down the book for a number of years. But recently, I was on the Dark Skin Activist Tour down there in Jacksonville, Florida. I was at this wonderful black vegan restaurant, and I ran into this lady, this pretty dark-skinned older lady, and her daughter-in-law. And I'm a talker. So I got to chatting with them, and I gave her my book. And about 3 months later, she sends me this text, and she was like literally pouring out her heart, telling me how the book helped her. And this is the first time this happened. A brother out in Texas, he said the same thing. He was like, you know, I thought I was crazy about, you know, experiencing dark skin discrimination until I read Darkism. And he works in corporate America. And he told me he took the book with him every day and he would read it, you know, while he was on lunch break. And this sister had a similar story. And this was about about a month ago, she sent me this text. And I said, you know what, Rashida, I'm gonna go ahead and put this book back up and I'm gonna give Darkism away for free. Because people are being, dark-skinned men and dark-skinned women are being helped. How to be the hottest dark-skinned chick on the planet. I wrote that for dark-skinned females. Okay. But Darkism helps dark-skinned men and dark-skinned women and black people. Because light-skinned people, I got a lot of light-skinned followers. I don't understand these people say, oh, you don't like, y'all are insane. Y'all lying. Y'all making up stuff. But Darkism helps people sometimes you got to conceptualize what you're experiencing. And that's what I have a strong need to do. I need a framework. I need to understand. If I'm confused about it, it bothers me. So that's one of the reasons why I came up with Darkism, because I needed to, I needed to put something, I needed to have a name. You know how, you know, there's diseases going around, like somebody had to come up with a name for cancer to describe what disease is, or COVID-19, coronavirus. Somebody had to give it a name. I'm like that. I need to conceptualize it and understand it, not just emotionally, but intellectually. So that's where Darkism really comes from. It actually gives dark-skinned people this framework to say that's different from colorism. Colorism is not the same as Darkism. Darkism deals with dark skin discrimination specifically, laser sharp focus. And in that book, you can get it for free. And I said, I'm gonna give this away for free because this is helping dark skinned men and dark skinned women and black people in general. So Darkism is free. I want you to go just download it. You can read it at your leisure. And I'm giving you details from my own life and what I've seen and experienced. Like my favorite one in Darkism is at the Chinese restaurant. That right there hurt. To this day, I got anxiety about going into these restaurants because I got a fear that because I'm dark skinned, a lighter skinned person, or it could be a white light skinned person. When I say light skin, I mean it could be a person of any race. They walk in and they're gonna get picked before me. That bothers me because you're disrespecting my humanity. So that instance of darkism is the one that's the one that really triggers me. That could keep me out of stores sometimes. I got it so bad. And see, dark-skinned people go through this shit, but they just don't say nothing. That's the reason why I wrote this book, because I wanted to normalize it and make it say, oh, yes, this is what you're experiencing. It's real. And no, I'm not a doctor, but this is my experience. Acknowledge my humanity. So you could go, and when that sister, she sent me that text, I said, I gotta release this one for free. I cannot let the devil win just because people stealing and plagiarizing. So darkism is free at my website. You can go get that for free. And yeah, check out the play.
Awesome. Question in the chat someone says, have you experienced more dark-skinism in the South?
Oh, yes. I'm glad you asked that question because I believe I have. And I think that's probably why I am the way that I am. You know, because growing up I live in St. Petersburg, Florida, and all I seen around me growing up, I seen from the preachers to the successful Black people in the community, for example, they all had non-dark wives, okay? But sometimes if you go in a Pentecostal church, because the Pentecostal church is considered to be on the intellectual social level, a notch below like the Baptist church. They're more of the Baptist church and Methodist church can be kind of considered more of the bourgeoisie Black people, if you will. So I saw a lot of darkism in Black people the Black men who they chose as wives. There's a lot of Black men down here that are with white women and they will throw it in your face. I have been disrespected. And I have a natural quiet nature until I had to just start standing up for myself and saying, no, you can't do this. You know? But yeah, down south, it's okay. Thank you for admitting it.
Oh, I went out for a second. It's another question in the chat. What do you think of racism around your area?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that question? I didn't hear it all the way clearly.
Yes. What do you think of racism around your area?
Oh, I hate it. I hate racism because it destroys people. There's so many Black people whose lives that came before us that's been destroyed due to racism. There's a lady that my father was very good friends with. She was real dark skinned, and every time I would go in that area, she would see me if I was walking past, and she'll say, "You Sammy daughter?" That's my dad, Sammy. They call him Sammy. And I said, "Yeah." And me and her got to talking one day, and she was an older Black woman. She probably was about around in her 70s at the time. Real pretty dark skinned lady. You could tell she was pretty in her youth. And she asked me what I was doing. And I told her I probably was in school at the time working on my degree. And she said, I always wanted to be a RN. And she said, but they wouldn't let her get into some school she was trying to go to because she was Black. This was like way back in the day. And she said she never became a RN, a registered nurse, because of that. So racism directly impacts, going back to the idea of life chances, Black people, not just dark-skinned people, obviously Black people's life chances. I hate racism with a passion because every day you wake up, you got to get up and walk out your door and sit up here worrying about somebody discriminated against you because you're Black. And sometimes people aren't even discriminated against you. I can say that. But because your head be so fucked up, you think, oh, you got to worry about this stuff. It's terrible. It's a terrible way to live. And I wish people would stop being racist. I wish people would stop committing darkism against each other. I wish that I am a egalitarianist. I believe in egalitarianism. I live in capitalism. I understand it. Of course, I practice it. But at heart, I believe that everybody should be given the resources of the world equally. I don't believe in that there should be private property ownership. I believe that by virtue of you being born as a human being, you have a right to possess land. Why do you need to create property laws? I'm anti. I mean, it is what it is. I'm just gonna say it like this. I'm an egalitarianist. If you're born on this earth, you have a right to the resources of the earth. Who are you as another human being to tell me that I can't have this? We are both human beings. We're equals. So human being, and it's intrinsic, but human beings create the problems. It's human beings doing this to each other. Human beings causing racism and saying because you a certain skin color, you can't have this. You can't go to this school, or you can't live in this neighborhood, or you can't get this education. Human beings are the problem, and we are the solution.
So, is with light-skinned blacks experience, is it the same as dark-skinism? Like when we like, because I'm considered light-skinned, I guess, but I experience some of those things too, but from white folks. So is that dark-skinism or colorism, like, or racism? Which one is that?
I'm glad you asked that question, and you one of the first people to ask me that question in a way that's not offensive to me, because usually I'm a very honest person. I get mad if somebody asks me that. I used to didn't get mad, but then I took it as an insult because I just felt like people were trying to downplay what dark-skinned people experience. So I appreciate you asking that in that way. And
Thank you.
I think that's an excellent question, like the way you've just framed it. What light-skinned people can experience colorism. Absolutely. But darkism is unique to dark-skinned people. So, for example, how can a light-skinned person experience colorism? A light-skinned person, because colorism to me is giving somebody preferential treatment based on skin tone, and it can run the gamut in skin tones. So if a dark-skinned person, for example, is speaking negatively or ill of a light-skinned person and saying, well, you're not black. Let's say a light-skinned black person has two black parents, they just light skin. And a dark-skinned person saying, you're not black, and taunting them because they're light-skinned, and you know that they have two black parents, and you're saying that they're not black, which I've never said. I said mixed people are not black, and I don't think that that's an insult. I'm just telling the truth. That doesn't mean I don't like you. But if you're taunting a light-skinned person that you know got two black parents and you're calling that person not black, and that's colorism to me. That's an example of colorism. So absolutely, light-skinned people can, another example of colorism that light-skinned women and men have experienced. So this is the light-skinned woman's version. They say that some darker-skinned females have beat up light-skinned females because they're light-skinned. I have personally never engaged in that. I have never had a desire to. But I would never deny that that hasn't happened. Okay? That's colorism. If you're beating up a light-skinned female because she's light-skinned and you're dark-skinned and you don't like the fact that she's light-skinned, you're practicing colorism against her. With light-skinned men, if you are calling a light-skinned man less manly because he's light-skinned, that's colorism. If you a dark-skinned man, and I'm the dark-skinned activist and I empathize with dark-skinned people. Come on now. But you're asking the question, I'm giving you some examples here. Let me just put it like this. I know light-skinned men that they don't play. I wouldn't put them at all. Okay. And I love my dark-skinned dad. But I know some light-skinned men that I don't think you want to put them like that. I don't think you want to ever try them like that. Okay. They ain't playing with you. So that doesn't make sense to me. That's colorism, where you're trying to downplay their manliness because they're light-skinned. That's colorism.
Wow. Someone said that light-skinned people experience light-skinism.
Okay. So yeah, I get that a lot, and so you know, sometimes depending on the day, that'll bother me, and I'll say you're plagiarizing me because lightism is an offshoot of darkism. But I just gave an example of that. And if you are downplaying the masculinity of a light-skinned man because he's light-skinned, that's colorism. I call it colorism. Okay, that's not right. I mean, you can't make that leap, because then what you're doing is you're also practicing darkism, because again, what you're saying is dark-skinned women, you are downplaying our femininity. So then we get back into darkism. That's a problem. We can't do that with human beings. So this is a humanitarian movement, because God made me a dark-skinned woman, and I've given birth to 2 beautiful children. I stepped into my femininity. Okay, you're not gonna take that away from me because I'm dark-skinned with nappy hair. Are you crazy? You're not gonna take that away from me because, you know, dark-skinned women, if you talk a certain way, I get accused of this because of my tonation. They'll say, "Oh, you're masculine." You what? I am all up in my feminine energy and all up in my feminine. You better ask my light-skinned boyfriend and my dark-skinned ex-husband. They'll tell you all about it. Okay, so I don't understand. That doesn't register to me as a woman. And in the same token, you cannot say that a light-skinned man is less masculine because he's light-skinned. And I have personal experience with that. I know. So it doesn't make no sense. It's all colorism and darkism intertwined.
Have you considered any plays to add anyone, like, or anything, any stories, any other dark skinned person that you see experiencing or talking about this? Like you thought about doing any collaborations in the future?
Well, A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge, the reason it was written was to collaborate. That was I wrote it to give work to dark-skinned women. My plan was to get a budget, because you have to have a budget. In order to get this to a bigger level, you got to pay actors and directors, producers, all the people that's associated with a production. And I'm one of them people that believe that you got to be paid. I don't want nobody doing nothing for me for free, because I think that's exploitation. So A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge was written with the idea, actually, of there's 6 characters in A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge. I play 5. I play the 5 because I didn't want to play the 6th character because it's just too much work. But my original vision was to cast 5 dark-skinned women to play the other 5 characters. I was going to continue to play Georgiana because I know her the best. I feel like I know her the best. I was going to continue to play her and cast the other dark-skinned. So my goal is eventually to produce this play on a larger level, where I'm casting other actors in the roles as a sort of, first I want to do it where it's just the play with the women, because A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge is a series of monologues. So you would have 6 women speaking their monologues. That's the vision of it. But because I didn't have the budget to do it, I said I got to just go on and play all the characters. And then from there, I would like to produce it as a full-fledged play and incorporate all the other characters. So I got Pastor Applebaum, Sister Glenda Applebaum's husband, who's a very interesting character. And then I got Georgiana, her dad, her mother, who's a self-hating woman. She's a light-skinned woman who's been very abusive to her. I want to cast people in these roles. When you see the play, there's a lot of characters in here. I mean, if I wanted to sit there and play all these characters, I could. I would be working my ass off, but I wanted to give work to other Black people. That's the whole point. And then you have Delphine Huckleback, who's a dark-skinned, self-hating Black woman who's married to a white man and has a biracial child. And she's inflicting all her self-hate onto this poor girl. So there's a lot of characters in here. Absolutely. But I gotta have a big budget. That's why I have a GoFundMe going, because eventually my goal is to reach $1 million to produce this as a play or either a movie, to cast all these characters in it. And if you read A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge, you'll see all these characters there. It's some meaty ass roles in here, and everybody that reads the book or sees the play, they're like, damn, this should be a movie. And I agree. That was the whole point. But because I love theater so much, I'm really a theater person more than anything. That's where my heart and soul is. I believe that's where you're gonna find the best performers in theater, because you right there in front of an audience, and whatever you get, you gotta go. You can't fake it. You gotta come with it. Whereas with the movies and the TV, they editing stuff out. No, you can't do that in theater. You right there, and I'm so familiar with that and comfortable with that platform because I've done it so much. That's where my home is. But eventually, I want to make it into a movie because I know that I'm gonna be creating Black economic development by providing jobs. Work for actors, producers, editors, everybody that's involved in the film industry. That's the vision. So absolutely, yes, eventually at some point. But for now, I'm not the type of person that's gonna sit back and wait. I'm not gonna sit here and wait and say, oh, I ain't got $1 million budget yet. I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna keep doing my one-woman show. People love my one-woman show. I'm gonna keep playing all these characters until then. So there you have it.
Absolutely. How long is the show?
The show itself is sometimes, I have done this show so much. I kind of just, these characters, sometimes they do what they want to do and they start doing stuff and they start I just let them roll. They own the shit. They are in control here. I am not in control. Delphine, Georgiana, Sister Glenda Applebaum, Dejoma Legend, they run the show, not me. I let them do what they do. I used to try to control them. You can't do that to people. You cannot do that. You don't do that to human beings on a daily basis. So I can't do that to my characters. So sometimes it might roll between, I would say, anywhere between an hour and 20 to 2 hours. It depends on how these women, what they want to do.
Right. Awesome. So
there you go.
What would it take for someone out there said, oh, you know what? I got an event coming up and I want to fly Rashida in and I want her to perform her play at my event. What would it take, Rashida?
Well, that's a great question. They would have to buy the show. There's multiple ways to do it. I mean, but in general, if someone wanted me to come and perform, they would have to buy it. So what we would be doing is negotiating a number in order to make that happen. So I'm open to that. I would love to do that. I've actually done that before. I've had people offer to buy the show. But that's what would have to happen. They would just contact me and we would come up with a fair number.
Y'all hear it? Y'all heard it. She's open to come perform. Is there anything else? Any more questions in the chat? If not, we're going to let Rashida close it out.
I just want to say once again, I appreciate your graciousness. I thank the people for watching. I appreciate y'all taking the time to watch and listen. I think that's one of the most important things with Black women. And I do understand that that's why we're having such a hard time with each other, because nobody ever listens to us. People don't really listen to us. They listen to all the other white women, always going to get first dibs, but people aren't listening to us. So I appreciate y'all listening. That's probably the number one thing. And I hope you can understand. I hope you can listen and understand, even if you don't agree with me. I just want people to listen and understand where I'm coming from. That's really what it is.
Oh yeah, understanding is the key. And I'm sorry, I just saw Mike Green Eyes question. What are your opinions of impact of dark-skinism in which entertainers get promoted, actors, singers, etc.?
That's another great question. It's my opinion of that is darkism and colorism has ran so rampant in the entertainment community for years. And I believe that dark skin activism is the catalyst that's really starting to change that. I know people will say that's outlandish, but I do believe that because it's my dark skin activism spurred the conversation and it created a consciousness in people to say, hey, we're going to stop doing this. And plus social media came along and kind of equalized things. But, the colorism and the darkism in the entertainment industry causes people to not get opportunities that they should get, to not get roles that they should get, and to not get, maybe if you want to be a singer and you're dark skinned, you might have a harder time. And I've talked to people, I know some people that's in the industry, just a few people out in LA, and they've told me this. They've told me this with their own experiences, that this is what is going on. And so what we have to do is we have to, I think that Black people can take control of this. I don't think it's as hard as it seems. All you need to do is create your own products. So you have people like Tyler Perry, for example, who is a creator. And when you create your own product, then you can cast who you want to cast in there. And if you are a person that is fair and honest, then you can cast dark-skinned people in more roles. You can make it equal. We have the power to do that. The fix is right before our eyes and so simple. To me, it's not something that you have to like spend hours talking about. This is something where you can take action, where producers in Hollywood, producers in Atlanta, or producers in whatever part of the world that have projects, TV shows, web series, plays, movies, simply give dark-skinned people a chance. Cast them in these roles. I mean, I noticed that white folks are doing it. They are casting dark-skinned people. I think they're watching the trend. They're jumping onto the dark-skinned trend, but they're doing it. Lupita Nyong'o should be saying, thank you, Rashida Strober. It's not all her doing. There's been a demand for dark-skinned people to be in roles. So Black Panther, for example. Viola Davis is another one. Viola Davis, I got a lot of respect for her because that lady worked years before this dark-skinned trend started popping. She worked years behind the scene and before to me, she's in my top 5 of actresses of all time. She's like, that woman is amazing. And I'm not impressed with people like that. But she worked years. She was in what was with Denzel Washington. I forgot that movie she was in with him. I think she played an abusive mother, but she worked for years. People didn't even know who she was. Then she got I think she did one small scene in the movie Doubt, which was one of the best scenes I ever seen in my life. Some of the best acting I've ever seen in my life. And then she did Fences with Denzel Washington. This woman is amazing. I say go off of talent. Me, I would even put true talent above skin color because I like talent. If you got the talent and you really got it, I'm gonna respect you. I don't care what color you are. But it's an imbalance with dark-skinned people that have talent that are not getting the opportunities versus non-dark-skinned people, and it could be of any race, that they're kind of mediocre, but they are getting the opportunities. And with that, the entertainment thing going over into, people been talking about Giorgio Casper, which that pissed me off too, because I was the first person to call him out on his darkism when that battle came out years ago. Years ago. That battle is old. But that leads me into a discussion of battle rap, where you got the dark-skinned females in there that are actually the most talented. You got Couture, superb. Miss Hustle, superb. Okay? They're not getting opportunities like that. You got Cardi B that came out the woodwork. Cardi B is not on that. I don't care what anybody says. She doesn't have it like that. She doesn't. Her popularity was manufactured. That's called light skin privilege. That's called darkism. Because if it was based on fairness, then why don't you have a Miss Hustle getting the opportunity to get on? I don't know if anybody's approached her. She should be on reality TV. That woman has actual talent. I look at a person's talent, and it's not equal when you look at the talent of dark-skinned people versus the talent of non-dark-skinned people. You get the mediocrity there. I'm not saying light-skinned people aren't talented, because I could sit up here and tell you about a lot of light-skinned people whose talent I enjoy. I'm just saying there's an imbalance in who gets selected and who gets picked first, going back to systemic economic darkism and dark-skinned people's life chances. So I hope I answered that question for that brother, just to give some examples.
Yes, and there were some excellent examples. Man, that was some powerful examples. I never thought of it like that either. But you dead on with the Cardi B. You know, that was right on the money.
Yeah, she shouldn't. If we're basing it on talent, she shouldn't be at the top of this hierarchy right now. And again, I could point out light-skinned rappers. For example, Charlie Baltimore. I don't know if y'all know who that is. She is light-skinned and super talented. She was from the 90s. She dated Biggie at one time. I liked her because she was talented. That's why. Faith Evans. I'm a Faith Evans fan. She light-skinned, but Faith Evans can sing her ass off. So what I am saying is, when you see dark-skinned people that have a certain caliber or level of talent, they should be given opportunities equal to the non-dark-skinned people that have that same caliber of talent. Make it equal.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think we have any more questions. Is that a question from Chantel, her crazy self? No. No more questions. Rashid, I definitely want to
last thing I wanted to let you know, I forgot to tell you this. Whenever I do an interview with anybody, I always request that I put the interview on their channel and my channel. So I want to make sure that that's okay with you. I want to upload. Yeah, this because people on my side I'm sure they would love to hear this as well. So I'm going to probably, when we're done, I'll probably download it and upload it to my channel.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, but I thank you. I really enjoyed this. And I really, like I said, I appreciate the people that's listening. I hope y'all took something from it. And I hope y'all can begin to understand me better, because it's a matter of understanding is really what it is.
Wow. Why don't you promote the play one more time?
Absolutely. June 26th, I'm gonna be performing A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge, which is the original play about dark skin, and it's pay-per-view live stream. I've come a long way. I used to just perform, in a set city, but someone said to me online, they said, why don't you bring this online? And I did it. This is the second time I'm doing this. I did it in 2018 when I performed in Atlanta, and now I'm doing it again. So you'll be able to watch A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge from the comfort of your own home. The tickets are, the pay-per-view ticket is $44.99. And if you want to do a watch party where you chip in with other people, I'm perfectly fine with that. If you are in Atlanta, Georgia, I'm going to be performing at the White Label. That's the name of the venue. And the address is 349 Decatur Street, Southeast, Unit M. And the tickets are at my website, darkskinactivist.com, darkskinactivist.com. And you can also, while you're there, you can download a free ebook copy of my book, Darkism. So yes, June 26th, get your tickets at darkskinactivist.com.
Well, thank you once again. And if you ever want to come over here and speak your speech again, you're more than welcome anytime. If you need anything from me, please let me know.
I will. I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. And thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate this again from you, Rashida.
You are so welcome.
All right. Peace.
Bye-bye.